Okay, so good morning, everybody. It is Sunday, August 30th. 2 more days left in the month, which brings us to September. And Commissioner, how are you this morning?
I'm great. It's back to campus for our households, and we're going to be talking a lot about back to school and the changes that families have had to make. No different over here. Got one child who's going to be doing completely online, and she's staying home. And she heard me say child, and I'm sure she'll grimace because she's 19. And the other one, we're driving back to campus today. And I think what you'll hear today in today's video is just the challenges that families have to make when things are a little different for different kids.
Absolutely. We have a 17-year-old stepson here, and I think we're waiting with bated breath to have school start on September 9th. But you know, it's amazing what's happening in our communities, and so much credit goes out to our, the staff in the schools and our own USD2 district to do what's right for kids and try to figure all this out. And
Yeah.
to really start today on a very, very happy note, tomorrow our monthly Spotlight on What's Right newsletter is going to go out, and we are highlighting just the terrific work and leadership that's been done in our 24-hour facilities.
When we're in non-pandemic time, those are the facilities that run 24/7, through the weekends, after hours, on those days that we have off, on holidays, that the majority of the staff are at home. Our 24/7 operation keeps us moving. And what we saw in the pandemic very early on is that our 24/7 operations made some initial shifts. They, tightened up some protocols that they had according to their COOP plan, and the leadership of Lisa Damon at the Caroline and Dr. Rayford up at Solnit North and Dr. Gregory down at Solnit South really just sprung into action. They, what you'll see in this spotlight is, none of them take credit for that, and it's all really attributed to their staff. But this spotlight spends a few minutes kind of talking about them, not only as leaders, but as people, because we know that the person and the professional is really who we all are and how we all show up to work.
Absolutely. So these are really great pieces, and we thank Brett, Frank, and Lisa for allowing us, a glimpse into their world, both personally and professionally. And, when we have, Commissioner, worked through the pandemic and the multiple meetings we've had, we've talked over and over and over again about being vigilant and being safe. And I think you have a very clear message about wearing masks for the staff, because there's been a couple of circumstances that have come to our attention that have drawn focus again on we cannot let up and ensure our own safety or the safety of those that we serve.
Yeah, Ken, last week you sent out a message to all staff from these videos that our Academy for Workforce Development, Middlesex College, and our Health and Wellness Division put together on the appropriate use and how to wear PPE. But then there was also one about kind of some of the changes that staff will be experiencing as they re-enter the workplace. But the uniqueness about our staff, not only do we have the 24/7 facilities, but that our workplace extends beyond the physical 14 area offices or central office into the community. So whether that's at court, whether that's, visiting or conducting a visit in the community, or even, a lot of our investigators and even some of our in-home staff are venturing out and doing visits to people's homes, whether that's inside or outside. We have to stay vigilant. Whether it's socially distant, the mask wearage is imperative. Sometimes you can't maintain the 6 feet of social distance. And, some of the messaging that we've been putting forth up until this point has been really about personal responsibility. But what I'm talking about today is the expectation for the workplace, whether it's inside an area office, in the community, at someone's home, in a facility, is that you must keep your mask on when you're interacting with your colleagues and when you're interacting with the public. If there's a reason why you can't wear a mask, that's something you need to be talking with HR about. But this is very critical from a contact tracing standpoint, a transmission standpoint, and from a public health and safety standpoint. Staff who are conducting business of the department need to be masked and need to be masked appropriately.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to embed those videos again, I think, in our weekly memo. But again, there's nothing that can take the place of reminding everybody and also empowering our workforce to remind your colleagues of the importance of the mask.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's a real connection here to, again, remaining vigilant in the next two topics that we want to talk about. First of all, we have empowered our foster parents to make the decision on behalf of the children in their care on what returning to school looks like. What version? Is it in-home? Is it a hybrid version? And we've also are now instituting the triage process, the visitation triage process for all youth in care. And there's some important nuances and underlinings there that you wanted to talk about.
Mm-hmm. So let's take the school one first. I started off by talking about sending my, college age students either back to campus or to completely virtual. You talked about, the changes with 17-year-olds and high school students. And our situations and our workforce situations are one consideration for back to school. So we have to think about what back to school is going to look like for our workforce. We'll talk a little bit more about that on our town hall that we'll have on Tuesday, and what, workforce considerations there needs to be about back to school. Then we have the kids and families that we work with on our in-home cases, and, just making sure that all of our connections and contacts with the families on our in-home cases really start to take on a very purposeful and direct conversation about what is your school district doing? What resources do you need? Can the department help you connect to anything? I just did the town hall for a school district of about over almost 2,000 staff members the other day on Friday to talk to them about just toxic stress that kids are experiencing, social emotional learning, and what that might mean in a back to school environment that either could be in person or hybrid, or whatever the circumstances are for the respective school districts. And then the last bucket is our foster parents, and thinking about what that must be like to try to figure out what the district is maybe for their own children, what different kids in their placement who have a nexus to their schools of origin. Yep. And if those districts are different than the kids that are in your home, and how that must be just completely challenging to try to figure out. Our foster parents have been heroes through this whole thing.
Tremendous.
Absolutely. And so tremendous. What we want to extend is the reasonable, prudent parent standards that allow for foster parents to know what's best in their household. And so in their household, if it is more convenient for the foster parent to arrange for everybody to do online schooling, we want to make sure that that's documented clearly of what the plan is, who's going to be doing the educating of the children, whether or not a child is leaving on a bus to go to a school, or somebody's transporting a child to a school. Is it for 4 hours a day? Is it for 1 week on? Whatever that educational plan is on cases, on children that we have in care, it needs to be documented in the record, and it needs to have full inclusion of the foster parent. This is that partnership that we've been talking about for years and years and years that we've kind of slipped away from, that, our quality parenting initiative is starting to help us rebrand how we interact with our foster families. Our foster parents, our staff, and our biological families need to be part of a triad that really work together, whether it's in-person visitation or making some decisions related to kids going back to school. So to be clear, the decisions related to children going back to school will be household by household, and the foster parents will be making those decisions and documenting those with the staff member who are assigned to the particular cases. There needs to be a solid educational plan. And then related to in-person visitation, right now we are at the point at which all the kids that we have in care can be subject to in-person visitation. For me, virtual visits likely are getting harder and harder for children to maintain attachments and connections to their parents. And so I recognize that, but I also recognize every time there's an approval for an in-person contact, you multiply the concerns related to transmission, and you multiply the number of touch points that could happen. So, I understand that, by adding additional cohorts and by adding the rest of the kids that we have in care to that, there just needs to be a reminder to everyone that we still must maintain our cautiousness related to in-person contact. We need to have those conversations up front. Those need to be documented in terms of the in-person visitation triage decisions, and that at the end of the day, if there is not agreement, those decisions need to be kicked up to the assistant chief, and the director of foster care to work that out. It's not just I'm going to put in place an in-person visit regardless of whether or not all of the parties agree there. If there's not agreement, that needs to be elevated through the chain of command so it can be resolved, because everyone is nervous, everyone is afraid, but this is where we need everybody to be on the same page.
Yep, and we have seen an uptick in foster parents calling the Office of Community Relations concerned about the resuming of in-person visitation. And first of all, we want to really empower our foster parents to speak up when they're concerned, but also have a mechanism to elevate those thoughts. And the other thing we've realized is sometimes, foster parents have additional information that we just didn't consider or didn't understand. So the more eyes, the more individuals assessing that situation, the better.
And I can't emphasize enough, the more communication happens throughout the life of a case. It really shouldn't come down to the only time we're talking is to resolve a problem, or the only time we're talking is to work through one of the triage situations. We really should be continuing to keep the lines of communication open, and that our staff need to work as that bridge between bio and foster families to really make sure that we all are having the best interest of kids at heart. So documenting the educational plan, whether it's our in-home kids in our in-home cases, documenting the educational plan through the lens of the foster parents' reasonable, prudent parent standards, and then documenting the in-person visitation if a child's case is part of that triage process. Any child that we have in care should be able to talk through with the foster parent, the worker, and our staff, the bio family, and the foster parent about the ability to do so in terms of in-person visitation safely.
Yeah. Now, you've mentioned it a couple times that Tuesday, September 1st, from 2 to 3:30, we have our first ever DCF virtual town hall meeting. Can you talk a little bit about that and expectations and what we hope to achieve?
Well, we're going to try it. We have a 3,200 staff, 3,200 people in our staff, right? And we've been conducting these videos every week. We've been sending out staff communications through email. We know that different people hear messages and information different ways. We've had our loyal commissioner video watchers that, as soon as we published it Sunday night over popcorn, they're watching us. So we're really appreciative of them and the feedback we've gotten over the months of, just information sharing and people appreciative of hearing things directly from us. But, that number still has not even gotten to 50% of our staff when we think about how many people have logged on. And there's lots of reasons why, people, just may choose not to hear that. This town hall is different. We want all of our regulars on the commissioner video to reach out to everyone who, all of your colleagues and all of your coworkers, to really impress upon them the importance of logging into our town hall. We know that, some people haven't been able to watch because of their inability to connect with technology, and they may not have equipment. There's been a recent deployment of another 300 tablets, so hopefully we're connecting more and more staff. But on Tuesday at 2 o'clock, we want to talk directly to all of our staff, as many as possible. So, along with our regulars, we hope that the rest of our workforce can tune in and hear directly from us. And then following that, there's been a series of listening tours that have been set up on the same schedule that we had before. So we picked up right where we got shut down in the spring to be able to have smaller sessions to do some question and answer. And the majority of those agendas will be hearing directly from our staff, less about what we have to say and more to hear what questions people still have.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to have a big week, which also brings us to the fact that September is Child Welfare Workforce Development Month. And our director of the Workforce Academy, Tracy Davis, has put together some weekly information. It's going to be sent out on Wednesday of each week, whether it's a video, an article, other information about building upon our workforce, their strengths, ideas about development. But this is a huge month, and not necessarily one that in the past we have really highlighted. So we really want to put focus on the work and developing our staff and having everybody zero in on those Wednesday pieces of information that's going to be sent out by the Academy.
They have done a tremendous job just maintaining contact throughout the pandemic, switching to the virtual environment, creating virtual webinars, and, that whole Together We Learn series and, helping staff stay connected, whether it was the Academy staff working with IT to get people connected or, developing an online curriculum that not only keeps our staff informed, but they actually even graduated, incoming staff members and onboarding new people throughout the pandemic, because they've recognized that this work has to continue and that switching from in-person to a virtual environment is vital to the mission critical work of the department. So hats off to our workforce development, Academy for Workforce Development, and all of the efforts that you will see over the coming month to highlight efforts to make sure that our workforce is not only informed, but they're innovative and they hear the latest things that should be imparted to develop themselves as skills or whatever perspective or function they have within the department.
Yeah, great. So we look forward to that. So at this point, we're wrapping up our videos. If anybody out there does not want to hear the latest statistics on the COVID positive 19 diagnosis, now is a time to end the video.
Yeah.
The most updated numbers, Commissioner, are we've had 39 staff that have tested positive for COVID-19 diagnosis, 77 caregivers, and a total of 25 youth. So again, consistent with the theme from the beginning of our video, remain vigilant, wear your mask, wash your hands, maintain social distancing. If you are not feeling well, tell someone, tell your supervisor, consult with your physician. Err on the side of caution in all circumstances.
Yeah, those statistics reflect the fact that it's an uptick. We're recognizing that there are areas in the state that are experiencing some of that. We heard what was happening down in Danbury. There was also a concern of an East Hartford nursing home, I believe, or East Windsor nursing home, and some other areas of the state that the public health department is watching pretty closely. But our stats reflect the fact that, we had stayed pretty steady there for a few weeks with no new positives. And what you just heard are some positive transmissions. And so we have to maintain our vigilance. We have to maintain our cautiousness, and we have to recognize that this virus is ever present as we enter into the flu season and, other considerations for public health. We have to really pay attention.
Absolutely. So, Commissioner, have a great week. I know that by the time we click off on this and we put it up on our web, we will probably have about 100 people on Sunday that view it. We have this group that are loyal followers. Please be safe today with your family going back to school, and we will see you. We will see you Tuesday at 2:00.
That's right. That's right. I cannot wait. I can't wait.
Awesome. Take care.
Bye-bye.